here! Okay, I think enough time has passed from the announcement. So, how long has it been? Oh shit. Good day everyone, Dactablab here. So I had this idea for some time now, but I wanted the information to properly spread so it wasn't that much of a spoiler. Then I got caught with other things, namely fighting undying warriors for a full hermit doll, but semantics. Thus, I apologize for the lack of content as of late. By now I'm pretty sure most, if not all the doctors out there, know about the future collaboration between Arknights and Bungie's Destiny 2. And while I am excited about it, since it will be the closest I will ever have to a collaboration with Warframe, sniff, I admit knowing absolutely nothing about this game, other than the regular outsider point of view. Thus, I began looking around for information, reading and seeing videos regarding the plot and whatnot, in order to know what to expect. A huge thanks to my pals in Discord who gave me their personal perspective on the game as well, link down below. This information and my thoughts are what now drive me to make this video. As you saw in the title, I want to discuss how could such a crossover take place. But first, an introduction is in order, for those of you who doesn't know what Destiny 2 is about. Destiny was the very first game produced by Bungie, of the original Halo's fame, once they parted ways from Microsoft, deciding to go on their own and make the best game they could. Then Activision got involved. To say the first game was underwhelming would be an understatement. Don't take me wrong, it was an Anthem's level of deception.
Oh my god!
But certainly Bungie changed Microsoft restrictions for actively tyrannical micromanagement. Not a good choice in my opinion. Eventually, Bungie grew tired of their new overlord and broke free from them once more. And to avoid legal repercussions, they let go of their beloved creation, only to make a continuation and slap a 2 on the title, because apparently that's all you need to break free from legal fees and whatnot. I am not a lawyer, do not quote me on this. Now free for real, Bungie were actually able to create to their heart's content, making one of the most impressive narratives out there. Or so people say, and reminder, I do not play these games, so I can only go with word of mouth. Mouths such as High Mouse, lead director of Arknights, who is a huge fan. And knowing how many of the crossovers occurring in Terra had been born from franchises the creators hold dear to their hearts, it was a matter of time for Destiny 2 to get their spot under the Originium. By the way, this intro is definitely required for the video, totally not made to fit the algorithm. Definitely. Returning to Destiny's 2 story, we are presented with an space epic where mankind one day discovered a moon-like construct which brought gifts of knowledge and technological advances, delivering mankind to a new golden age. So you know where this is going. Yep, eventually, old foes of the Traveler caught up with the Spherical Messiah, creating a conflict which almost destroyed Earth and the human race. Centuries later, mankind is slowly rebuilding itself from the ashes, and while underpowered, the Travelers still look after their wards with the aid of Ghosts, small geometric robots which can grant a fraction of the Traveler's light in order to turn humans and others into guardians, warriors able to wield said light in superhuman ways and help mankind fight off their foes. Then a bunch of epic adventure happens, but that's the gist of it. The closest thing I can think of is, again, Warframe. Beings who wield incredible powers alongside top-of-the-line gear in order to fight off invaders and whatnot, each one of them with their own powers and abilities, though in D2 there are only 3 classes to choose from. Even with such a small roster, one Guardian is able to wipe out entire armies under Lawson, and that's just with their weapons. If we sum their powers and abilities, they can challenge demigods. That is part of the narrative, I'm not even joking. So those are the Guardians and Destiny's 2's plot in a nutshell. Now the important part. How can a crossover even happen? The easiest part to answer, surprisingly enough, is the literal part of the question. How will someone from that universe arrive to Terra? Well, simple. Dimensional travel. It has been shown that the technology in Destiny 2 is so advanced, it is often confused with magic. Heck, that's the whole deal with the Guardians. So having a dimensional gate, a ship failing a faster-than-light jump, or downright having a deity open a rift to another world, are all possible explanations for their arrival. or they can just go with the Xiaohei route and have them just pop up out of nowhere. That being explained, now we go to the next and probably more interesting part. Everyone is wondering, who will be the representative? As any good epic, Destiny's roster is large, very large, with each character having their own stories, connections and respective relevance to the plot. Yet, there are characters who are more recognizable than others, with some constantly appearing in top 10 lists. However, there is a problem with this. As far as I know, everyone is relevant to the plot, and it will be hard to explain why they just disappeared from the battlefield, especially given the point the story is at right now. Granted, many other games excuse their crossovers with said characters promptly returning to their respective worlds with little to no issue to their respective continuities, yet somehow leaving behind a copy of themselves to be used by the players. But something to remember is that while this is something that could happen, Hypergriff takes a lot of effort on explaining the reason behind their respective crossovers, as we see with Team R6, who are still doing things in Terra. They weren't just forgotten. So while any of the most popular characters could fit the role of ambassador, I don't think it would be proper for them to abandon their fight, even when stranded in another planet. Thus I think that, as promising as any of these characters could be in Arknights, I doubt they will go with that route. Then again, they could just make use of a moment in the past to justify said characters appearing here, which could solve everything and keep things tidy. If that turned out to be the case, my money is on this trip. Now, if they don't want to bring someone from the main story, what other options are there? The obvious answer will be the main characters, the Guardians themselves. With 3 different roles to choose from, I can see them filling the roles as operators. But that brings us to the next problem. Unlike the Doctor, who has started to show inklings of an actor personality, the Guardians are both blank slates. They are good-willed and honorable by nature, but that's not exactly something exciting to play with when you are not self-inserting in them. So while they could fill the role, I doubt this will be the choice either, since it wouldn't be as exciting for the community. Personally, I found the same dilemma when pondering how could a Warframe crossover be. As much as I like the game, the 10 are not exactly known for the way it works. There is a reason this sort of games depends more on the rest of the cast to carry the narrative weight. Not to mention problem number 3, weapons. If regular guns from Earth are already considered overpowered by Terra's standards, imagine something that can one-shot an armored ship, let alone some guys in quasi-medieval armor. Granted, they can go the same route as with Team Rainbow Six, where ammunition runs out and thus have to make do with what they can find. Problem being, they are weapons themselves. The abilities granted to the Guardians are so absurd, a couple of them could easily solo all of Terra's army without breaking a sweat. And while it could be excused that they being away from the Traveler limits their abilities, the main story from 2 already stopped that thought, as it is shown that their ghosts, who never leave their sights, can also serve as proxies for the Traveler, making the reliance in the big circle in the sky irrelevant. But okay, let's stretch it a bit and say the dimensional distance causes an interference on the amount of the light they can provide to their Guardians, thus explaining their nerfed status in Terra. That will work. If the Guardians were to lack the light, they could be reworked into playable characters, including the NPCs as well, explaining how any of them could join Rhodes Island. But what if they go with neither? In the latest crossover event we have seen, as of the recording of this video, in the collaboration with Capcom's Monster Hunter, Hypergriff chose no one. While it can be justified as said franchise has no specific character to call iconic beyond the titular monsters, they could have easily picked someone from Rise, the most recent entry in the franchise. Yet the final decision was to go with an iconic race who had been there from the very beginning, the Palicos, recognizable, iconic, and inseparable from the brand. Yet innocuous enough to justify their inclusion without having to explain much. This is the route Hypergriff could go with, a representative of the franchise who doesn't need more explanation to be here beyond what brought them there. And I think we already saw them in the very trailer. None other than a ghost, recognizable, iconic, and inseparable from the brand. Yes, enough was enough to justify their inclusion in Terra. As far as I understand, ghosts are created with the sole purpose of finding a candidate worthy of carrying the light, and then create a new guardian who they will accompany till the end of their existence. And what is the ghost doing in that trailer? It isn't accompanying someone, nor delivering information or even running from danger. It's scanning around. It's looking for a new guardian. And while it can be dismissed as a nod to the original game, some players were fast to recognize that the place being scanned is not Earth, it's Terra. So, time for the tin hats, because I'm going ham on this theory. What if a lone ghost arrives in Terra for some reason or another, and having yet to bond with a guardian, the little thing does the only thing it knows to do. It searches for a worthy vessel for the light. That's right. I think that this event could be the one and only time a character is resurrected in this story. Granted, they won't be the same, as all guardians lose the memories of who they once were, thus it wouldn't be a continuation of their stories, but still, the possibility is there, and my head cannot stop running wild about it. So I will say, enough with the mystery, and let's make a short list of the top candidates which I believe could be worth of the light, in no particular order. Starting with... Yeah, we don't have time for this. Scout. We know he was one of the most beloved members of Rhodes from the time it was still Babel, and one of the few who actually had a strong bond with past Doctor. Not to mention, he was someone willing to die for his ideals and even feel sorry for having to drag the Doctor back into the battlefield, thus making me believe he will be worthy of the light. Speaking of iconic past members of Rhodes, next we have the one and only Ace. Every single character who knew him always has this fondness and nostalgia when speaking of him. Not to mention that the few minutes we saw of him were enough to cement him as one of the most iconic members of Rhodes Island. Strong, determined, and willing to go to the bitter end for his ideals, Ace could be a perfect candidate to host the Traveler's powers. Not to mention, it could bring some closure to those in Rhodes who couldn't properly say goodbye to him. Another possible candidate could be a villain, as seen with Destiny's Crow. The story of redemption could fit the twat if he were to be chosen. After all, weirder guardians have appeared before. However, I doubt the body he was left with could be processed with the light, but I won't deny it would be an interesting development. I also admit that Frost Nova was among the first to cross my mind when thinking about this possible scenario, but I don't know if ghosts can regenerate someone from their ashes. I haven't seen information supporting this, but neither against it, so I wouldn't know if it could be possible. Same thing with Faust and Outcast. Finally, the one character I think it could fit even more than Ace will be the man who never stopped even once. The warrior who, am I kidding, it must be pretty obvious at this point. Buldrokas T, the Patriot, is without a doubt the most iconic member of Reunion, even more so than Tallulah herself. Despite the horrible fate handed to him, he never blamed it. He was ever steadfast in his convictions and beliefs, the aegis of the infected, and the backbone of the movement. So if Ace was iconic for Rhodes, Patriot was Reunion. While his memories will be erased, his will alone will be just as influential in any place he will be in, battlefield or not. This might be my biggest consumption of Hopium to date, but if by some miracle Hypergriff decides to bring back someone from the dead, I really hope it's Patriot. Not only for how awesome he was in life, but also because life owns him at this point, enough to justify him being brought back as a new being. Story-wise, I have no idea, as it could go anywhere from fighting someone from the original universe as seen in previous events, or just a collection of stories, though I doubt they will be that lazy. Regardless, I can't deny my excitement for this, as the possibilities alone are enough to make me think all kind of nonsense, as you kindly have seen. But for now, I think this should be nonsense enough. What do you think? How do you think the story could go? Or what characters could be brought into Terra? Or better yet, what do you think Destiny 2 could do on their side to promote the event? Be sure to leave your commentaries down below, as I will love to see what other possibilities could be there. And of course, get inevitably disappointed once none of them come true. But hey, there is nothing wrong with hoping. For as long there is hope, there might be a way. This has been Dr. Blob, wishing you all a great day. Humbly asking for a share, like and subscribe. And remember, stay healthy everyone.